You won't believe how much money the government is quietly keeping from millions of older pensioners right now. And if you were born before 1950, this video could directly affect your bank account. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share could mean thousands of pounds missing from your retirement income. And most people have absolutely no idea this is even happening. Welcome back to Daily DWP Alerts, the channel dedicated to making sure you never miss a single update that affects your money, your benefits, and your future. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now because we cover DWP changes that the mainstream media buries in the small print. Today, we're breaking down one of the most talked about pension inequalities in the entire UK benefit system. And trust me, once you understand what's going on, you're going to want to share this with every pensioner you know. Let's get straight into it. The DWP has now officially confirmed the new state pension rates that will come into effect for the 2026 to 2027 financial year. And on the surface, that sounds like good news. Pensioners are getting a pay rise, right? Well, yes and no. Because here's the thing that nobody is talking about loudly enough. Not every pensioner over the age of 65 is going to be paid the same amount. In fact, depending on when you were born, you could be receiving nearly £3,000 less per year than someone who retired more recently. Let that sink in for a moment. 3,000 every single year simply because of the year you were born. Specifically, we're talking about pensioners who were born before 1950. These are individuals who have worked their entire lives, paid into the system for decades, and are now finding themselves on the wrong side of a two-tier pension structure that the government put in place about a decade ago. And the numbers, when you actually lay them out side by side, are quite frankly shocking. So, let me walk you through exactly how this system works. Because understanding the structure is the first step to understanding why so many older retirees are getting a raw deal. Around 10 years ago, the UK government introduced what's called the new state pension. This was rolled out for anyone reaching state pension age on or after the 6th of April, 2016. The idea behind it was to simplify the pension system and create a flat rate payment that would be more straightforward for people to understand and plan around. And for those who transitioned onto this new system, it has generally been more generous. But here's where the problem begins. Pensioners who had already retired before that April 2016 cutoff, or who reached state pension age before that date, were kept on the old system. This is referred to as the basic state pension. And while the name sounds similar, the amounts are very, very different. From this coming April, the full new state pension is going to be worth £12,547 per year. That's the figure for people on the newer system, those who retired more recently, largely people born after 1951 or 1952, depending on their exact circumstances. Now compare that to the basic state pension which older retirees, those born before 1950, will receive. That figure comes in at £9,615 per year. Do the maths, and you're looking at a gap of £2,932 every single year. Nearly 3,000 gone simply because of when these pensioners were born. Now, let's talk about the weekly figures because sometimes it's easier to understand the real-world impact when you break it down into what actually lands in someone's pocket each week. Under the new flat-rate state pension system, the maximum payment is £230.25. Under the old basic state pension, the maximum is £1,764 per week. That's a weekly shortfall of nearly £54 for older pensioners. A £54 a week might not sound catastrophic in isolation, but over the course of a full year, that's the nearly £3,000 difference we just talked about. And over 5 or 10 years of retirement, we're talking about a truly significant sum of money that older pensioners simply never see. And what makes this feel even more unjust to many people is the fact that these older pensioners, the ones born before 1950, are often the very individuals who spent the most years paying into the national insurance system. They entered the workforce in an era when retirement planning wasn't something ordinary working people had access to. They didn't have workplace pension schemes, investment portfolios, or financial advisors guiding them. They worked. They paid their national insurance contributions faithfully, and they trusted that the state would look after them in retirement. And yet here they are receiving significantly less than younger retirees, many of whom had far more opportunities to build private savings alongside their state pension. Now, it's worth being fair here and acknowledging something important. The government isn't entirely ignoring this gap. There are top-up payments available to help bridge the difference between the basic and new state pension rates. Things like pension credit, for example, are specifically designed to provide additional support to lower-income pensioners, including those on the basic state pension who might otherwise fall into financial hardship. So, the system isn't completely blind to the inequality. There are mechanisms in place to provide some level of additional support for older retirees who need it most. But the key word there is some pension credit and other top-up payments don't fully close the gap, and they require pensioners to actively apply for them, which, as we've covered many times on this channel, is a significant barrier for many older people who either aren't aware they're entitled to these payments or who struggle to navigate the application process. It's estimated that billions of pounds in pension credit alone go unclaimed every single year in the UK. While the top-ups exist on paper, in practice, many of the pensioners who need them most never actually receive them. Let's now talk about how these new rates were actually determined. Because this is where the triple lock policy comes in, and it's a topic that generates a huge amount of debate in this country. The triple lock is a commitment made by the government that the state pension will rise each year by whichever figure is highest out of three measures: the rate of inflation, the rate of wage growth, or a guaranteed minimum of 2 and 8.5%. The idea behind this policy is straightforward and on the face of it entirely reasonable. It exists to ensure that pension payments don't get eroded over time by rising prices or stagnating in real terms while the rest of the economy moves forward. In short, the triple lock is meant to protect pensioners' purchasing power and ensure that their income broadly keeps pace with living standards. And for the 2026 to 2027 year, the triple lock has delivered some meaningful increases. People on the new full state pension are going to see their annual payment rise by £575. That's not nothing. That's a real terms increase that will genuinely help people manage their household budgets in what remains a challenging economic environment. But here's the catch, and it comes back to that two-tier system we've been discussing. Pensioners on the old basic state pension are only seeing an increase of £440. So even the annual rise that's supposed to be protecting everyone equally is actually delivering less money in absolute terms to the very pensioners who were already receiving less to begin with. The gap isn't closing, it's staying stubbornly in place. And in some respects, the way the triple lock is applied to two different base figures means the inequality is being locked in year after year. Now, how much state pension you receive, whether you're on the new system or the old one, ultimately comes down to your national insurance record. This is something that trips a lot of people up. So, let me be really clear about it. Your state pension isn't just handed to you because you've reached a certain age. It's a retirement income that you earn through your working life, specifically through the national insurance contributions you pay while you're employed or self-employed. In some cases, you can also qualify through national insurance credits. For example, if you spent years as a carer or if you claimed certain benefits during periods when you weren't working. The number of qualifying years on your national insurance record determines how much of the maximum state pension you're entitled to. If you have a full record, you receive the maximum. If you have gaps in your record, perhaps because you took time out of work, worked abroad, or had periods of self-employment where contributions weren't properly recorded, your payment will be lower. This is why it's absolutely critical for every pensioner, and indeed every person approaching a retirement age, to regularly check their national insurance record through the government's online portal and take steps to fill any gaps if necessary. The way you access the state pension and which version you receive depends specifically on when you reach state pension age. If you reach state pension age before the 6th of April, 2016, you're on the basic state pension. If you reached it on or after that date, you're on the new flat rate system. It really is that simple as a dividing line. And yet, the financial consequences of which side of that line you fall on are enormous. There have been persistent and vocal complaints from pensioner groups, charities, and campaigners that this two-tier system is fundamentally unfair. The argument goes like this. Two people might have identical national insurance records, might have worked the same number of years, paid in the same amount, and lived equally responsible lives. But because one of them happened to reach state pension age before April 2016 and the other after, one of them receives nearly £3,000 more per year for the rest of their life. That's a hard thing to justify on the grounds of fairness, and many people feel that it simply cannot be justified. The government's position has generally been that the transition to the new system was necessary to create a fairer, simpler structure going forward, and that moving everyone onto the new system retroactively would be extremely costly, and that's a real consideration. The financial implications of equalizing pension payments for all existing retirees would be substantial. But the counterargument is that the cost of not doing so is being borne entirely by the oldest and most vulnerable pensioners in the country. People who have the least ability to go back to work, take on extra hours, or make up the shortfall through other means. This debate isn't going away. And as the years go on and the gap compounds with each year's triple lock increase applying to an already lower baseline for basic state pension recipients, the calls for reform are only going to grow louder. So what should you actually do if you're in this situation, or if you know someone who is? First and foremost, check your state pension entitlement. You can do this through the government's Check Your State Pension Forecast service online. Understanding exactly what you're entitled to receive is the essential first step. Second, if you're on the basic state pension and your income is below a certain threshold, look into pension credit immediately. This is one of the most valuable but most underutilized benefits available to older pensioners in the UK, and claiming it can make a genuinely significant difference to your monthly income. Third, check whether you might be eligible for other DWP benefits that could supplement your pension income, including attendance allowance if you have a health condition or disability, or housing benefit if you're renting your home. And finally, stay informed. The rules around state pension benefits eligibility and DWP payments change regularly. And being aware of those changes before they happen can mean the difference between claiming what you're owed and missing out entirely. That's exactly why this channel exists. At Daily DWP Alerts, our whole mission is to make sure that pensioners, carers, and benefit claimants across the UK have access to the clear, accurate, up-to-date information they need to protect their income and claim every penny they're entitled to. We don't use jargon. We don't bury the important stuff, and we don't leave you guessing. We break it all down in plain English every single day. If this video has been useful to you, and I genuinely hope it has, please do give it a thumbs up because it helps more people find this content who need it. Share it with a family member, a friend, or anyone you know who might be affected by these pension changes. And if you haven't already subscribed to Daily DWP Alerts, now is absolutely the time to do it. Hit that subscribe button and make sure the notification bell is turned on so you never miss an update, because on this channel we make sure you always know what the DWP is doing before it affects your pocket.